There's a song on your phone right now that gets you every single time. Same spot, same exact moment, every single play. Maybe it's a key change. Maybe it's one note held a beat too long. And somehow, for no logical reason at all, the hair on your arms stands up and your eyes go a little glassy over vibrating air. You've probably never questioned it. It just happens like sneezing or getting hungry. Nobody teaches you to react that way to sound. It just shows up, fully installed, like it was already there waiting. And that reaction makes almost no sense. Music can't feed you. It can't keep you warm. It can't sharpen a spear or stop a predator. So why does your body react to a chord progression like something important just happened? Here's where it gets stranger. This isn't new. It isn't even close to new. In a cave in what's now southern Germany, archaeologists led by Nicholas Conrad found something that shouldn't feel important in a place like that. A flute carved from the hollow wing bone of a vulture with carefully spaced finger holes. It's roughly 40,000 years old. That means someone deep in the middle of an ice age sat down with a bone, a basic tool, and a huge amount of patience and built an instrument. Not a spear, not a scraper for hides, an instrument. And researchers have even played reconstructions of flutes like it. Stop and sit with that for a second. This was not a comfortable, resource-rich moment in human history. Winters were brutal. Food was never guaranteed. Every hour spent not hunting, gathering, maintaining shelter, or making survival tools came with a real cost. And someone looked at all of that and decided that putting holes in a bird bone was still worth the effort. So the obvious explanation is just entertainment. Maybe they were bored. Prehistoric background noise. Something to make a long night around the fire less miserable. That sounds reasonable, but there's a problem with it. If music were only entertainment, you'd expect it to become important once life got easier. Once people had extra food, extra time, and enough safety to spend energy on something unnecessary. The archaeological record doesn't fit that story very well. Evidence connected to early music appears in environments where life was still difficult. Some researchers have even argued that a pierced bone from Divj Cave in Slovenia may have been a Neanderthal-made flute. That claim is disputed. Other researchers argue the holes could simply be bite marks from a cave hyena, and there is no consensus. But even if you throw that artifact out completely, the confirmed evidence still leaves the same uncomfortable question. Why would people living close to the edge spend precious time making music at all? And if they kept doing it, why didn't natural selection simply punish the habit out of existence? This is where the story starts to change. Because maybe music wasn't surviving beside human life. Maybe it was helping human groups survive. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar is best known for his work on the size of human social networks, especially the idea that there is a rough upper limit to how many meaningful relationships one person can keep track of. Other primates maintain social bonds through grooming. One animal sits with another, picks through fur, makes physical contact, and slowly builds trust. That works well when the group is small. But humans became social on a much larger scale. And that creates a very practical problem. You cannot physically groom 100 people often enough to keep every relationship too large for the old primate system. Dunbar's research points toward activities such as laughter, synchronized movement, and singing as possible replacements. Not because they are prettier, because they scale. One person can only groom one or maybe two others at a time. A song can involve 20 people at once. A rhythm can involve 50. A dance can synchronize an entire group. And synchronized group activity seems to do something interesting inside the body. In research associated with Dunbar's group, activities such as singing and moving together have been linked with increases in pain tolerance, which researchers use as an indirect sign that endorphin-related bonding systems may be involved. One study involving rowers found something especially strange. People rowing in physical synchrony with a team showed greater pain tolerance afterward than people rowing a comparable distance alone, even though the physical work was similar. The effort wasn't the unusual part. The synchrony was. Moving at the same time as other people appears to change the experience. And suddenly that 40,000-year-old flute looks very different. Maybe it wasn't a toy. Maybe it was social technology. a way to make unrelated people feel more like one group. But if that explains music, there's another problem. Why does music affect babies? A newborn is not trying to maintain a giant social network. A 6-month-old does not need to coordinate a hunting party. And yet one of the most universal things humans do is sing to infants. Watch a parent with a crying baby. Across cultures, people naturally drop into slower, softer, more repetitive sounds. Nobody needs to hand them a manual called How to Sing to a Baby. They just do it. And infants show responses to musical structure music only emerged because adult groups became too large to groom each other. Why does the system seem to be active before a child even understands what a group is? Maybe bonding is part of the answer. But maybe music reaches deeper than group coordination alone. And that raises another question. If music is mainly learned from culture, why can people often understand the purpose of songs from cultures they have never encountered? Psychologist Samuel Mayer and colleagues explored exactly that kind of problem in a large cross-cultural project. They examined music from societies around the world, including communities with very different cultural histories. Listeners heard short recordings from unfamiliar cultures and were asked what kind of song they thought they were hearing. Was it meant for dancing? For soothing a baby? For healing? Again and again, listeners performed better than random guessing. They did not know the language. They did not know the instruments. They did not know the people who made the music. But certain patterns still seemed recognizable. Lullabies, for example, often share slower and simpler features across very different societies. That creates a strange possibility. Maybe humans did not invent music the way they invented a wheel or a spear point. Maybe they discovered something their nervous systems were already prepared to use. But even that doesn't close the case, because bonding is not the only explanation researchers have proposed. Charles Darwin noticed the puzzle of music more than a century ago and suggested another possibility. Maybe music, like birdsong, developed partly as a display, a way to attract a mate. That idea is still debated. It has not simply replaced the bonding explanation, and the evidence does not reduce music to one single points to something important. Music may never have had just one job. It could have helped signal skill. It could have soothed infants. It could have synchronized groups. It could have strengthened trust. And if several of those functions overlap, then the real question changes again. Maybe humans didn't keep music because it was entertaining. Maybe entertainment is what music feels like when an ancient social system is working. Look at what humans did with rhythm afterward. Sailors sang while hauling rope. Field workers sang while harvesting. Soldiers marched to rhythm. Groups used chants, drums, songs, and repeated movement whenever many separate bodies had to act like one. Was the rhythm making the rope lighter? No. Was the song making the field smaller? No. It was doing something to the people, timing them, focusing them, making many separate individuals behave more like a coordinated unit. For most of human history, music was difficult to separate from other people. If you wanted music, somebody usually had to make it. A voice, a drum, hands clapping, feet moving, an instrument in the room. Then something very strange happened. The music stayed. The group disappeared. Now think about how you listen. Alone, earbuds in, walking to work, sitting at a desk, lying in bed, ignoring the people around you on purpose. You have access to more music than almost any human who ever lived could have imagined. Millions of songs, any genre, any artist, anytime, and yet you consume a huge amount of it in a format that would have been unusual for most of human history. Privately, that doesn't mean solo listening is bad. It can be one of the best parts of a day, but it creates one last mystery. Why does the exact same song feel different when thousands of people you already know the song? You may have heard it hundreds of times through headphones. Nothing about the melody is new. Nothing about the lyrics is new. And then the crowd reaches that one line together. Suddenly the whole room changes. People who do not know each other are moving in the same rhythm, shouting the same words, reacting at the same moment. And somehow the song hits harder. Why? Maybe because for a few minutes, you're no longer listening to music the way a modern device delivers it. You're using it the way humans may have used it for tens of thousands of years. together. That is what makes the old flute so strange. A person in an Ice Age landscape did not make that object because silence was boring. At least, that explanation is not enough. They made something that could pull attention into the same rhythm. Something that could turn separate bodies toward the same sound. Something that may have helped strangers feel less like strangers. 40,000 years later, the machinery is still there. It's underneath the playlist you make for yourself. Under the song you cannot stop replaying. Under the strange feeling when a melody catches your chest before your conscious mind has decided how it feels. And under that moment in a crowd when hundreds of voices suddenly become one. So next time a song catches you off guard, that exact spot where your chest tightens for no obvious reason, the reaction may be older than the device playing it. You're hearing sound, but some part of your brain may be hearing something else too. People, belonging, synchrony, the possibility that you're not alone. You didn't just find a song you like. 40,000 years later, it finally found you back.